Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly series of shirim on the Zohar Kadosh. And in this week's Parsha, Parshas Ki Teitzei, we encounter one of the most significant sugyos, certainly one of my favorite sugyos, and a sugya that can be seen as the beginning, the middle, and the eventual end of what we're trying to figure out. The sugya that we're going to touch upon is the kever of Moshe Rabbeinu. The kever of Moshe Rabbeinu, the burial place of Moshe. Now, the burial place of Moshe, Chazal already tell us, is something that is concealed within concealment. Whether it's that those who go searching for it from above, it appears to them that it's below. From those who are looking at it from below, it appears to them that it's above. From the notion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the burial place of Moshe before the world, from the notion that Moshe Rabbeinu had to ascend up into this liminal territory of his burial place, which is the element of Bein Hashmashos, which is both here and there at the very same time. The burial place of Moshe, the Hivro Shel Moshe Rabbeinu, is one of the elements that rests at the center of the Zohar HaKadosh, especially the Raya Mehemna, the chelik of the Zohar HaKadosh, which is the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu. But it also bears a profound, profound significance on our individual lives as well. Because all of the qualities that we're going to see about Moshe Rabbeinu, the archetypal light of Das, Moshe Rabbeinu, the mind of the Torah, the mind of Klal Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu, Eved Ne'eman, Navi of all Nevi'im, Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Emunah in the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, as ascendant as it is, also expresses itself downwards, it disseminates itself downwards into each and every individual. So that everything that the Svarim say about the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu and the burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu and the enigma of Moshe Rabbeinu's burial and the need to search it out is not only true on a cosmic ontological sense of thinking about the ascendant worlds and the secrets, but it's also a deeply rooted psychological reality that each and every person has to uncover the burial place of Moshe within themselves. And these two polarized perspectives of discovering the burial of Moshe in reality, which is something that the tzaddikim are osek in all the time, and the psychological perspective of uncovering Moshe Rabbeinu within our own hearts. These are not two diametrically opposed models, but rather they're two expressions of a singular truth. That when we come to uncover the Nakuda of Moshe Rabbeinu within each and every one of us, when we uncover the burial place of Moshe within our neshamos, then we awaken the general burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu in Metzius, and we bring Moshe Rabbeinu into his rightful burial place. So that the inner work is not something separate and apart from the cosmic and collective work. The inner work is in and of itself the particularized fractal of self, that when we do our own work, it brings about the final culmination of redemption. So that each and every person has their own process of geula, their own process of redemption, their own process of uncovering the burial place of Moshe at each and every moment. And we also have to hold in mind that when we are doing that, we're also working for the klal, and we're also bringing our spark of Moshe back to the klal. And when all of the nekudos of Moshe Rabbeinu are gathered together from all of the different minds of Klal Yisrael, then Moshe Rabbeinu himself, Kavyachol, returns in the secret of Masha Haya Hushiyah, that the neshama of Moshe is going to be mislabish and it's going to be engarbed in the light of Mashiach ben David. And so what we're going to encounter in Parshas Teitzei is the question of Moshe Rabbeinu's burial place. And more significantly for us, we're going to talk about what it means to uncover it within the heart itself. Because the thing about Moshe Rabbeinu's burial place is what happens when the light of Moshe Rabbeinu appears to extinguish. The entire light of the Zohar HaKadosh, as we've spoken about so often, is a dialogue between Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Moshe Rabbeinu reveals the Torah. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai reveals the interiority of the Torah. But we also know that even though Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is revealing something that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't reveal, everything that is revealed after Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be rooted back in Moshe Rabbeinu, in the secret of Halacha LaMoshe Misinai. That when Rabbi Akiva was darshaning on the Kutzin Shel Osios, Moshe Rabbeinu had a chalisha sadas, the Gemara tells us, because he couldn't understand what Rabbi Akiva was saying. And he said, Shlach na biyad tishlach. Hashem, send redemption through Rabbi Akiva, not through me. until at the end of that sugya, Rabbi Akiva says, Halacha l'Moshe Misinai. The only reason we know anything is because it's all contained within that halacha, that kala, that shechina ilah that was given over to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. That everything that is going to unfold within the minds of each and every Jew, every sparking of Torah that is a coping mechanism with this worldliness, is rooted in the original mind of Moshe Rabbeinu. And even though Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't conceive of those particularized expressions of coping through the Torah, that's not because of his lower level, but that's because in accordance with the collective nature of Moshe Rabbeinu's soul, the particular points were not revealed. But each and every particularized expression of the Torah through the mind of each and every Yid, through the heart of each and every Yid, through the body of each and every Yid, is ultimately another expression of Halacha l'Moshe Misinai. We're revealing that everything that is being revealed is always already contained within the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. So the light of Moshe Rabbeinu undergoes a departure from this world. It seems to dry up. The river seems to dry up. The sela, the stone, seems to only be giving drops of water. And it appears that Moshe Rabbeinu is removed from the scene. He goes up into that place of Nevo, into that Shar Hanun. But the secret of the moment of Moshe Rabbeinu's death, which is what we didn't understand at the moment of the Egel Hazahav, which is the whole kilkul of the Egel Hazahav, is that the ascendancy of Moshe Rabbeinu is not the destruction of Moshe, not the disappearance of Moshe, but rather the revelation of Moshe everywhere. That when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up, what is in truth taking place is that he's revealed within each and every part of Klal Yisrael. And the burial of Moshe Rabbeinu is this impossible place of realizing that on the one hand, Moshe Rabbeinu disappears, but on the other hand, it's not a disappearance that means the concealment of the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Adrabah, it's a furthering of the revelation of Moshe Rabbeinu within each and every person. It's only through the burial of Moshe Rabbeinu, through the end of Torah Shebechsav, that we can reveal Torah Shebal Peh, which is the secret of being able to say to each other, Moshe Shapir Ka'amrat. Moshe, you said really well. Even though we're not Moshe, we are Moshe. That's the secret of the Misa of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he's revealed within each and every Yid. And this secret of the Kvura of Moshe Rabbeinu is, on the one hand, Moshe Rabbeinu appears to have departed from the scene and the living waters have dried up. But at the same point, that burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu is also the point of connectivity where we draw forth the perpetual newness needed to reveal the true burial place of Moshe, which is Eretz Yisrael, which is the Kotel HaMa'aravi, which is Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, Mibein Shnei HaKruvim, which is Rosh Tevos Moshe. So on the one hand, Moshe Rabbeinu's departure represents this closing off of the heavens, this concealment of the light. Yet on the other hand, it's this concealment of Moshe Rabbeinu that reveals Moshe Rabbeinu. As the Heilige Me'or Einayim says, "V'lo yada ish es kfuraso," and nobody knew his burial place. Why couldn't anyone know his burial place? The reason that nobody can know his burial place was because, in truth, the burial place of Moshe is in the innermost point of each and every neshama, in the Yechida Shebenefesh, in that point where we are the Das of Moshe. And just as a person cannot behold or grasp the innermost part of their heart, so too we can't grasp the burial place of Moshe because it's buried within us. That each and every one of us have the ability, as Rabbi Nachman says, the burial place of Moshe is ayin, it's the Shar Hanun, it's an ascent into the envelopment of divine light, of the full unity, of the full recognition that everything is good, even if I have no idea how anything is good. Everything is good, that light of goodness that Moshe Rabbeinu represents. That aliyah back into that place of nothingness, that's the burial of Moshe, where the mind transcends, it goes up and it forgets about this world. But then the rest of the world down here is left wondering, where's Moshe Rabbeinu? Where's Moshe Rabbeinu? We need Moshe Rabbeinu. And the secret of the Moshe's burial is that when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to Ayin, we draw it back down, it comes back down, but it comes back down in a way that's still ungraspable. It's an ungraspability that's rooted in more and more emunah. It's an ungraspability revealed in the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is emes v'taraso emes, and that there's a continuity, and that the long arch of history is ultimately a movement from before the beginning, through the beginning, towards the middle, and it is going to culminate in an end, which is the revelation of Moshe Rabbeinu again, and the movement of Moshe Rabbeinu out of this concealed burial place, in the Tzalmud Delav Hagunle, in that burial place that's inappropriate for him. He's buried outside of Eretz Yisrael. He's buried Mul Beis Pa'or, the biggest klipa in the world, the place of concealment. Why? Because he's there to protect us. That Haman didn't know that Moshe Rabbeinu was born in Adar. He thought Moshe Rabbeinu dies in Adar. The fish passes away in Adar. The Nunai Hayam, that Levyason of Moshe Rabbeinu, it gets concealed in the month of Adar. He dies. But Haman didn't realize that Moshe Rabbeinu was also born in Adar. The Mori Naim says it's not that, oh, it was his birthday. It's that the death of Moshe Rabbeinu is in fact a revelation of Moshe Rabbeinu within the heart of each and every Yid. And Haman didn't realize that. He thought the departure of Moshe from the scene was the absencing of nothingness. But in truth, the true reality is that the ascent up into the nothingness, va'anachnu ma, that bitul muchletes of realizing that Hashem, I don't have anything but my recognition that I don't have anything. The only thing that I can truly offer to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is the Nakuda of Ayin, the Nakuda of Anava, the true secret of Bittul Behechlet, which is the recognition that I am an extension of you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shliach Ne'eman of you. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu, each and every one of us is a Shliach Ne'eman, and Shliach Shel Adam Kamoso. Moshe Rabbeinu was a shliach for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring the light of the Torah into Metzias. Moshe Rabbeinu was a shliach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring the infinite light into Metzias. And so too, each and every one of us, when we connect to the Nakuda of Moshe, we are the Shluchei Rachmana. We are the Shluchim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through our Nakuda of Moshe. And when that nitzutz of our spark of our soul and our Nakuda of Torah in this world is revealed to give comfort, to give calmness, to offer some illumination in this world to another Yid, then we have accomplished our Nakuda of Moshe Rabbeinu, and then that letter gets written in the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu is buried mul beis pa'or, in that place of concealment, in that place of getting stuck in all matters of stuckness. But he's there to ensure that we can make it over the finish line. And when we make it over the finish line, we bring Moshe Rabbeinu into Eretz Yisrael. Each and every spark and hitznoitzitzitz of Moshe Rabbeinu that is uncovered within the heart is another ingathering of a spark of Moshe's mind that is entering into Eretz Yisrael, settling in its rightful place by the Kotel HaMa'aravi, Mibein Shnei HaKruvim, in that in-between place that straddles both sides impossibly, but nevertheless reveals a singular center that connects both edges. Moshe Rabbeinu is above and below at once. This is the difficulty of Moshe's death. On the one hand, it appears that he disappears. On the other hand, he's appearing. On the one hand, he's concealed. On the other hand, he's revealed. But this is the Nakuda of Moshe. Because the Nakuda of Moshe is Tov. Moshe is Tuvia. Moshe is goodness. Moshe is a revelation of the Or Haganuz, which is the Das HaNe'elam, which is that innermost point of knowing, that deep bond and unknown known connection to the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is so embedded that it can't be proven, because any attempt to prove it is to distance oneself from its fundamental revelation in the hopes of being able to objectify it, and we cannot do that. It's always ever present. So there's no distancing ourselves from this inner point of Moshe so that we can't even analyze it. It is who we are. And when we enter into that place of the goodness of the soul, that irreducible point of the Das of Moshe, the Das, that belief that there is a point of connection, that there is a point of connection between above and below, and that point of connection between above and below is the neshama, which is the osios of Moshe with the nun, which is the shar of bina that Moshe Rabbeinu brings down. Moshe Rabbeinu is the innermost quality of Das. When we pay attention, when we lean in through the concealment, when we lean in beyond the anxiety, when we lean in beyond all of the things that are convincing us to stay out of this moment, we are entering into the burial place of Moshe. We are entering into that place of goodness, to that Tov Hagonuz Begave. The light of Moshe is covered over in the Teva, that's floating through the Nile River, covered over by the outside in negative smells, but nevertheless protected inside, protected. And then it gets brought into the palace of Paro. It gets brought into the opposite of itself in order to reveal its true potency. Each and every one of us are this unfolding story of Moshe in our lives. This Nikuda of Tova is not a simple thing. This burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu is not a simple thing. It's not just nothingness. It's the capacity to merge nothingness and somethingness together as one. It's the capacity to merge together concealment and revelation, to live in that excluded middle that floats in the air, which is the secret of Moshe Rabbeinu going up to Marom v'Shavis HaShevi, drawing down the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The Das of Moshe Rabbeinu is that point of connectivity between above and below, and by definition, it's going to have elements of above and below. Moshe Rabbeinu, on the one hand, we know from the Heilige Magid that there was somebody who wanted to capture a portrait of Moshe Rabbeinu, and when they came back, in accordance with the picture that they saw, it had the worst characteristics. The face was descriptive of something destructive, but ultimately that's the secret, that Moshe Rabbeinu comes from a place of concealment, and ultimately he draws that concealment into the deepest place of revelation. That Moshe Rabbeinu is not that externalized illumination of light. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Das HaNe'elam. It's the goodness that's concealed, hidden away, the Evan that rests in the center of the mind, that Sela of Moshe, that stone that Moshe Rabbeinu was meant to speak to. Moshe Rabbeinu needs to speak to himself to reveal the flow of the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, the flow of Torah, the flow of Chidushim, the flow of Das, the flow of knowledge, the flow of calmness, and the flow of confidence, and the flow of hope. But because Klal Yisrael were so impetuous, not God forbid to speak negatively about Klal Yisrael, because we are Klal Yisrael, but the lack of patience and the inability to recognize what the tzaddik needs to do, what Moshe Rabbeinu needs to do, we pushed Moshe Rabbeinu, and there was a certain nekuda of kas. On whatever level, there was a certain nekuda of kas, of a short-temperedness that emerged, and he hit the rock. And instead of speaking to the rock, which would have allowed that nekuda of das to flow ever so smoothly and express itself down into the body so that the das tachton and the shedra and the spine can be transformed into the illumination that it is. Instead, we got tipin, and those tipin, those drip drops of the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, are only revealed by way of difficulty, are only revealed by way of Yisurin, are only revealed by way of the struggle, are only revealed by way of the self-doubt, v'chule, v'chule. And we're still waiting to be mataking that chait, to bring Moshe Rabbeinu back into Eretz Yisrael, to open up the Sela. The Sela is the stone, the Even Masu Habanim Haisel Rosh Pina, the center of the mind, the Even, the Even Hashasiyah, from which point all wisdom flows forth. And this is what the Zohar Kadosh is going to be teaching us. In Parshas Teitzei, when it comes to the Das of Moshe Rabbeinu, which Rabbeinu says is very, very significant, and this means what it means for each and every one of us, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the gematria of 345. And he is wedged between Ratzon, which is the gematria of 346, and Shmad, heresy, which is the gematria of 344. That the two polar opposites of existence, Ratzon and Shmad, the desire to connect fundamentally to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the desire to remove ourselves from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're wedged together by the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the mechokek. He goes into the snake. He goes into concealment. Moshe Rabbeinu goes into this worldliness, into that place, Mul Beis Pa'or, into that low valley, and he reveals the Yud Gimel Midos of Racham there. That's the avoid of Moshe Rabbeinu, to dig into the concealment and to transform the concealment from the inside out, to reveal that the chitzonius is Megala the Pnimius, and Moshe Emes v'Sarasa Emes. And so the das of Moshe within each and every one of us, and the need to bring Moshe to its rightful burial place, away from the Tzalmud of Hoganle, where we're stuck in that chutz la'aretz mentality, where we're protecting ourselves because we're so afraid we're not going to make it over the finish line, and to reveal the true burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the fact that Moshe wins out in the end of the day. Moshe emes v'saraso emes. Kedushasi l'ma'ala mikdushaseichem. The light of Moshe Rabbeinu is a perpetual light of emuna, of anachnu ma, of nothingness revealed, of anava, of a melech anav, of a humble king who understands that he is simply a reflection of that which moves through him, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the mouthpiece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so too with each and every one of us. And that place, that neshama, the capacity for us to live with our neshama, to live comfortably in that Moshe place, is wedged very often between the battle of Ratzon and Shmad. Sometimes I have a Ratzon for it, sometimes I believe in it, and sometimes I find myself denying it. And that is the nature of the burial place of Moshe. That's why it's such a davar mesubach. We're always trying to find that place where we're okay. But when we feel that we found it, it's above us. And when we feel that it's below us, then we don't know where we find ourselves. We're always, always searching for that nekuda of Moshe Rabbeinu. We're being doresh, the place of Moshe. And this is what brings us out of exile. What brings us out of exile is the ability to lean deeply into that light of Moshe within each and every one of ourselves, to trust assuredly in the fact that Hashem, I'm with you. Ayin ba'ayin, I'm with you. Ayin ba'ayin, I'm with you, Hashem. I know you're here, Hashem. I know you exist, Hashem. I saw the burning bush. I saw the coalescence of opposites. I hear the bas kol. I see the difficulty. I see the strength. I see the hope. This is the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a Moshe in every limb by limb. We have to whisper to the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, who gives us strength to move forward. The Das of Moshe, this neshama of Moshe, which is that point of the transference of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu offers us the Torah. Moshe is the Shliach Tzibor. Moshe is not an Inyan. Moshe is translucent. Moshe is Ayin. He's Anava revealed. It's shiftless. That's what survives in Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not about Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the shiftless of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the Gilui of the Shechina Kadisha. And every element of Nishmas Yisrael yearns towards the Shechina. Mamela, we yearn towards the tzaddik because the Shechina is revealed by the tzaddik. We yearn to go and uncover the true burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu because that's where we know we're going to find that the stone opens up and the heart of stone is going to be transformed into a heart of flesh, and it's going to be Mayim Amukim Eitzos Belev Ish, and the waters of the heart are going to flow forth like wisdom, and it's Maleh Haaretz Deas Hashem. Ki Meitzeitzcha Me'eretz Mitzrayim Ereinu Niflos, Nun Playos. The Shar HaNun is going to be revealed. The burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu, Ani V'ayin B'vasachas, above and below at once, winning and losing at once, feeling everything and feeling nothing at once. The upper yud and the lower yud of the Aleph unified together as one. This is the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is straddling the fence between Ratzon and Shmad, living in that place of Moshe, of Shama, there, being there. And so the Zohar HaKadosh says as follows, that Rabbi Shimon and the Chavraya are praising the Raya Mahemna. They're talking to the Raya Mahemna. They're talking to Moshe Rabbeinu. And they're saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, even though you're concealed and even though all of the problems come from your concealment, nevertheless, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the light of Mashiach Tzidkenu. It's going to be the light that comes with Mashiach. Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef, Chachma and Bina, only come about in coalescence through the light of Keser. And so the Zohar HaKadosh says, Shlachna biyad tishlach, that the B'tzina Kadisha, Rabbi Shimon is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu when he says, Shlachna biyad tishlach, send in the hands of the one you should send. V'ha'ant kegoin b'hahu zimna, bach yet kayim am Yisrael. Raya Mehemna, Neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, just as Klal Yisrael needed you back then, they're going to need you again now. Ki Meitzeitzcha Me'eretz Mitzrayim Ereinu Niflos. That just as the days where we left Egypt, so too we're going to see wonders. Meaning to say it's going to be the same Giloy of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Das of Moshe within each and every person. And the Neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu being Miskala within Mashiach Tzidkenu. Like the days that you left Egypt, Ereinu Niflos, you're going to see wonders. You're going to see the Niflos, the Shar Hanun. Ubegalusa Basra, train Mashiachin, Yishalech, Imcha Lekabel, train Gadfin Dioina. And Moshe Rabbeinu Raya Mehemna, in our time, the two Mashiachin are going to come and they're going to be escorted by you. That Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David, because again, the whole light of Moshe Rabbeinu is the ability to be above and below at once. It's to be concealed and revealed at once. It's to live in the avoid of Mashiach ben David and the avoid of Mashiach ben Yosef at once. It's Chachma and Bina. It's Ratzon and Shmad. That Moshe Rabbeinu is the unification of all opposites. And that's why it's going to be like the two wings of the dove that Noach sent out. The two wings, which are Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef, they're going to go and they're going to help you along the way to reveal the light of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Zohar Kadosh continues and it begins to discuss the nature of the sea in Rav Himnuna Saba and the concealed territory of the Levyason, the concealed territory of the Levyason and the Nachash Brayach and the illumination of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within concealment, which is the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, to be revealed within the house of Paro, to be revealed within the darkness of Mitzrayim. And then Rabbi Shimon arrives. Rabbi Shimon says as follows to this conversation that the Chavraya were having with the Neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Adahachi habutzina kadisha asa. Rabbi Shimon came. Pasach Raya Mehemna va'amar. The Raya Mehemna, Moshe Rabbeinu answers and he says to Rabbi Shimon, Ma'are masnisan ma'ihu Levyason. He's asking those who learn Niglos HaTorah, those masters of the Gemara. What is Levyason? What is this illumination? What is this sea creature, the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu? What is it that rests at the core of all things, whispering meaning from within meaninglessness? What is it that gives the world sustainability? Upon what does the earth stand? What is Levyason? What is connection? Where are we going to? Amar le B'tzina Kadisha, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai answers Moshe Rabbeinu's question. Ha'ihu darga amuda da amsausa. The Levyason is the central pillar. It is the thread of connectivity that ascends all the way to the top and descends all the way down to the bottom. The light of Moshe, the light of the Seichel, the light of goodness, the light of illumination, the light of Chayk HaToiv Lahetiv. It's the ability to find a centering pillar at the core of all differentiation. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, you want to know what it's really called? It's called sadic. The Levyason is the light of the tzaddik. It's the Or Zarua le tzaddik u'liyishrei lev simcha, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Itmar Bey. Because with regards to the tzaddik, with regards to the light of Yesod, with regards to the Or Ki Tov, L'taken Olam b'malchut Shakai, the revelation of Shemayim and Aretz being unified, that it's fundamentally connected to the body, that they're both connected as one. So Amuda de Emseusa, Teferes, and the Yesoid, which is the Nakuda of Tzaddik, them both together is referred to as Levyason. V'israbe b'yamada. And the illumination of Levyason, the illumination of Levyason, that light of Moshe Rabbeinu, that light of revelation is perpetually filling this place. It's perpetually illuminating itself. Where is it filling? It's filling the sea. The light of Moshe is the Yam HaChachma. It's the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Das of Moshe, coming down into the sea, the Yam, all of the Nun Shari Bina, all of the differentiation. The Levyason is the light of connectivity that is revealed within differentiation itself. So Rabbi Shimon says Levyason is light of Yesod Da'aba, which is light of Chachma coming down and revealing unification. That's the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. And it reveals itself within the sea. The sea is Bina. Why is the sea Bina? The sea is a place of differentiation. That Yam is the gematria of Nun. It's the 50 Sha'arim. It's the place of Vif and Ko V'Ko. I look here and I look there. In the world of Bina, there's the 25 letters of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and the 24, which is going to be transformed into the 25 letters of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Olam Vad. There's the Vif and Ko V'Ko. Mitzrayim is Bina. Moshe Rabbeinu enters into a place of Bina. He draws the light of Chachma, which is the light of the Levyason, into Mitzrayim itself, which is the revelation of Chachma within Bina, and he comes to reveal unity. Amar Raya Mehemna. Moshe Rabbeinu answers to Rabbi Shimon. Vadai Levyason dekoyim al svasayam. You're absolutely right, Rabbi Shimon. You're absolutely right, Rabbi Shimon. The Levyason is Levyason that rests at the shore of the sea, in between the sea and dry land. Hafach lam liabasha. Moshe Rabbeinu is Mahapech Yam Liabasha. Other tzaddikim could be above or below dry land or the sea. Moshe Rabbeinu is in both places at once. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Shor Habar. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Levyason. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Chachma. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Bina. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Torah that's being miskala through Nishmas Yisrael. So Rabbi Shimon, Moshe Rabbeinu answers up Rabbi Shimon and he says, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that the tzaddik, this amud, this thing upon which all things stand, is the light of the Levyason. And this light of the Levyason, this light of the hidden flow of perpetual meaning that is always reverberating and echoing from within the very interiority of existence and expressing itself outwards by way of an echo as it breaks forth through the thickness of externalized reality and reveals itself to chitzonius of the world, the inner light that is perpetually flooding the outsideness of reality. This is the light of the Levyason. This is the Suda of the Levyason. Levyason is Gematria Malchus. It's the illumination of this world. That the tzaddik is working from the inside out. The clarifications like Yonah ben Amittai, who found himself in the belly of the whale, like the tzaddik who descends down into the belly of the serpent, like all of us who come down into this world, like the neshama that comes down into the guf, like all of us who encounter traffic jams, like all of us who live a Torah of the Adam ki yomus ba'ohel, a life of yegia, and a life of amelos, and a life of trying, and a life of hoping, and a life of being a ben Adam, ki teitzei l'milchama. That it works from the inside out. It's mechokek from the inside out. We start with the goodness. The Levyason is the affirmation of goodness, connectivity, schoik, sha'ashua, illumination, novelty, childish wonder. And from the inside, it slowly but surely expresses itself to the outside of the world until suddenly the light of the inside is revealed on the outside, and the Or is revealed, the Or Haganaz is revealed. That's the light of Levyason. That's the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, Raya Mehemna, Tanin Hagadol. Zel Umazeh of Paro Harasha, who was the Tanin Hagadol. But what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? He says, this Levyason, the Alma Koi al Sanpore, that the entire world is sustained upon the fin of the Levyason. The entire world is sustained upon the fin of the Levyason, as the Zohar HaKadosh explains in numerous places. The sadic yesod olam, the chol olam, the chol alma kayim alav. So there's an amazing teaching here. I'm sorry, we're going to pause and go into the words a little bit. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "What's Levyason?" Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, "Avada, it's the light of the tzaddik, which is the light of Chachma Yesod Da'aba, that's maskala down within the sea of Bina, and it reveals connectivity through and through, outside and inside, above and below at once." And so Moshe Rabbeinu says Avada, the Raya Mehemna is correct, that the Levyason is the secret of a pillar of sustainability, something that a person can rely upon. Mish'an u'miftach letzadikim, a makel, a walking stick, kedushasi l'malam kedushasechem, kedai lismoch, a place to rely, the reminder that we can rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, this pillar, all things stand upon this fin of the Levyason, and this fin of the Levyason is the pillar of the tzaddik upon which the world is stabilized. Now, so we see that Moshe Rabbeinu is making an equivalency between the stabilization of the world upon the fin of the Levyason and the sustainability of the world upon the pillar of the tzaddik. But if we actually look at these mashalim that the Zohar Kadosh is revealing to us, they're in fact not necessarily representing the same thing. Because a sanpir of a Levyason, a fin of a fish, is a floating thing. It's an unstable thing. It's perpetually moving and floating and going in and out and exiting and entering and going submerged and going above the waves of the sea, the Gale Hayam. And so that's an unstable stability. The fin of the Leviathan is something that is here, there, everywhere at once. A pillar is something that's sturdy. A pillar, tzaddik, Yesod Olam, implies something founded, implies something grounded that can be rested upon, and it can offer support. So how is it that these two notions of the light of the Levyasan, on the one hand, it's a sanpir that's floating in the sea. It's wading in the sea. It's wading in like a velvet sea. It's just floating here and there. But on the other hand, it can also be described as a central pillar, which is a stabilizing element. And the answer is that the light of Moshe Rabbeinu is both and at the very same time. It's above and below. It's Bein Ratzon and Shmad. It's above and below at once. It's inside Eretz Yisrael and outside Eretz Yisrael at once. It's a closed Torah and it's an open Torah. It's a Torah Shebechsav and it's a Torah Shebal Peh. It's a burning bush and it's not a burning bush. It's an eheke and then it's another eheke. It's this and that. It's v'yif and ko v'ko. The light of Moshe Rabbeinu is the light of seeing within stability, instability, and seeing within instability, stability. It's living in that center point of what it means to be a yid of banalan besa ba'avira da alma. That the true place in which the yid lives is in that tower that floats up to the sky without any support whatsoever down here. And so we can say that even though they're two very different things and they represent two very different modalities of experience, where on the one hand I'm floating back and forth like a sea creature in the sea, on the other hand I'm very stabilized and I'm on the land, that is the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. If I'm feeling like I'm below in the sea, I find sustainability by looking up to the pillar above. And if I feel like I'm stabilized in the pillar above, I look down to the fluid nature of the sea. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu responds to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's the light of the tzaddik Yesod Olam D'chol Alma Kayim Allah. This is the sustainability of the world. Amma Butzina Kadisha, Rabbi Shimon responds to Moshe Rabbeinu and he says, Zaka Chulkech, praiseworthy is your lot, Raya Mehemna, because you are the Baskol Begalusa, you are the echo in Galus, you are that light that is reverberating within exile, perpetually reminding us that we have to unify outside of Eretz Yisrael with Eretz Yisrael to draw Chachma into Bina. The Baskol in Golis, which is ad de Teitzei ana legabe de ant koil, until we come to a place where that voice is fully emergent. And what's going to happen then, Moshe Rabbeinu? Rabbi Shimon says, what's going to happen when your voice is fully emergent? What's going to happen when Moshe Rabbeinu is revealed for all to see? When the light of Moshe is revealed in our minds? Chedva diloch kechedva dili. Your joy is going to be my joy, says Rabbi Shimon, because that's going to be the full culmination of the tikkun. Because we've said so often that the Zohar is about bringing the light of Moshe down into the levusha of Rabbi Shimon. But ultimately, the entire tachlis is to then go from the levusha of Rabbi Shimon back up to the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because we've always said the goal is to go from Chachma down into Bina, but the only role of Bina is to reveal how there's a perpetually ever-growing light of Chachma that we have to return back to. That we descend down from the nothingness of Ayin into the somethingness of Ani, only to encounter the shifts and the changes that enable us to return back to a new level of Ayin with the newfound sense that what I thought was the completion was only the beginning. Ad infinitum. And that joy, when the rock opens up, when the Sela is opened and the water flows, and it's going to be Mayim Chaim Yoitzim Yerushalayim, And every mind is going to be filled with das, and every mind is going to be filled with amuna, and every mind is going to be filled with a comfort and the ability to rest assuredly in the goodness that is present internally, externally, and to feel protected and safe. The light is going to be v'hu kachatsan yoisem mechupaso. It's going to be like a chassan, the joy of a chassan who's emerging from his chuppah, a light of connectivity. And now we're going deeper into the paradox of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Rabbi Shimon says to Moshe, because Moshe Rabbeinu is still buried, and our generation is the generation that's waking up to the tzaddikim bringing Moshe Rabbeinu into Eretz Yisrael, of us being the process of Moshe Rabbeinu coming into Eretz Yisrael. And Rabbi Shimon says, don't worry. Don't worry about the fact that you're still buried in that place where it appears that it's very difficult. Delay begalusa chashuchen. Because yes, right now the garments that you wear in exile are dark, they're black. They represent concealment. They represent struggle. They represent hiddenness. They represent Yisurin, God forbid. Ubezimna deihu mislabeshes behoin ihu amra alter eni sha'ani shachro cheres. And in the time of exile, Moshe Rabbeinu says, just like the Shekhinah, don't look at me, I'm black, I'm ugly. V'ilin klipin inin ovin mashkis af v'chema nuk v'bisha shivcha bisha shabtai. And in exile, I'm covered over by all sorts of externalized sheaths of darkness and melancholy and sadness and distance and shame. And the rightful queen has been replaced by the maidservant, V'shivcha ki tirish gvirta. And there's an imbalance in the Welt in the times of exile. The Shabbos Malchusa, the light of Shabbos, the Baszug of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Baszug of Knesset Yisrael, Kalas Moshe. It's hidden away in exile. Mashchis af v'chema sarchin litlasa avin. They belittle us. They speak down to us. This is the concealment that we find ourselves in exile. Rabbi Shimon is saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, don't worry. Because there's even a further distancing that's taking place in exile. What's the further distancing that's taking place in exile? So this is Rabbi Nachman's Torah on Parshas Ki Teitzei of Achor V'Kedem Sartani. That exile is composed of keseder and lo keseder. Sometimes we're at the top, sometimes we're at the bottom. Sometimes we're winning, sometimes we're losing. It's the mixed bag of experience. There's the irbuvia, the element of the Erev Rav that Moshe Rabbeinu was still ne'echaz in because he wanted to be metaki in that place of irbuvia, that place of bein hashmashos, that place of the burial of Moshe Rabbeinu, where it's not clear if it's above or below. It's not clear if it's below or above. And each and every person lives with this place of irbuvia. Each and every person lives with this place of the confusion that Moshe Rabbeinu is continuing to be mavar in our own hearts, in our own minds, in our own bodies. And so what happens is that sometimes there's life that goes keseder, where our lives are smooth. I have a ratzon, I have a desire, and it expresses itself the way that I expect it to go. It goes from the yud to the k to the vav to the k. It goes in the right way. But then, Rahman al-Islam, there's a time where it's nehepach, and it goes shalok keseder, where things are at a state of war with existence. There's an antagonism at the heart of our experiences where we feel a resistance and we feel like things are not going our way. And that's shalok keseder, where things seem to be going backwards. And that's when the Shem Havaya goes yud and it goes hey vav hey yud. It's backwards now. It's backwards. And so it appears in exile, Moshe Rabbeinu, when you're buried in this inappropriate place of the darkened clothes that you wear, in that melancholy of the spirit that we're still stuck and we're still not living with a full revelation of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's light and a full awareness of Toiv HaNira v'Hanigla, that it appears that there's Keseder and Lo Keseder, Yud Ke Vav Ke, and then Hey Vav Hey Yud. But the Zohar Kadosh is going to reveal to us a remarkable secret. Rabbi Shimon is comforting Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's saying it looks like there's this polar opposition of how things are going. One time it's here, one time it's there, which is the cover of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the Dor Tahpuchos, it's the world and the generation that is above and below at once. And Rabbi Shimon is saying, if you look at it like that, it's going to look Keseder, Shalom Keseder, back and forth. But in truth, all that shifting is the Yud. All that shifting is the Yud, because when it's going Keseder, the Yud is before the Hey Vav Hey. The Hoiva, the present is there, and the Yud starts it off. Yud Chachma Keduma, Moshe Rabbeinu's light is revealed. And when it's not revealed, all that has happened is that the Yud has gone from the top to the bottom, and now it's Hey Vav, Hey Yud. And now it appears that the Yud is at the very bottom. And in truth, it's the same Yud, it's the same stone, it's the same Evan. It's the same Evan that was hit that now needs to be spoken to. It's that same Yud that was at the top, which is now at the bottom. Ani Hashem lo shinisi. And Rabbi Shimon is saying, don't think that the shifts and the changes of the Levushim and exile, and the up and the down of inside and outside, in Golus and exile, Chachma and Bina, connection and disconnection, love and hate, all of the different antinomies that express themselves at the heart of conscious experience, they're not so distant from one another. It's just a placement of the Yud. It's the Evan Ma'asu Habanim Haisel Reish Pina. It's the stone that was despised by the builders that in truth is going to be revealed to be the loftiest place imaginable. It's the katnish shebekatnis, which is in and of itself the godless shebegodless. And Rabbi Shimon is whispering this to Moshe Rabbeinu to give him comfort. He says, not only are the clothes ugly in exile, not only are they covered over by all sorts of concealment, the klilin be'avhin, hey kadma be'avram, hey tinyana be'yitzchak v'vav be'Yaakov. That right now, what you see when things are operating properly is Malchus in its true refinement, where the Yud is at the beginning, and it's connected to the Hey Vav Yud, which is the light of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and it's the unity of Moshe with the Avos, before the Torah and after the Torah. It appears that the Yud is at the beginning. V'hois Yud Reisha Iloya Itmar, but in exile, this Yud, which is the height of all heights, the head of all heads, the pasuk says, "Nafla ateres reishenu." The crown of our head has fallen down. It went from ayin to ani. Ve'itmilu rabbanan mitla lemalka dahavele itra al reisha. Ve'ilin ya'e kadma asya le shmua bisha arame itra me al reisha. The example is like a king who was wearing a crown and he was feeling really good about himself. And then his avadim came and they told him bad news, and he took the crown and he threw it off. The Yud was at the top and now it's at the bottom, but it's the same Yud. It's the same Yud. This is the nature of exile. This is the nature of exile. Umadahois Yud al Hey Vav Hey, and that which was the Yud on top of the Hey Vav Hey, Yud La'ela, it was transformed as Hadar Le Hey Vav Hey Yud Latata. The Yud went from the top to the bottom. Ubegin da Amar David, and David HaMelech who's waiting for you, Moshe Rabbeinu, because you're the neshama of David. David HaMelech says, Evan Ma'asu Haboinim, Haisel Reish Pina, that this stone that is despised, that's at the bottom right now, it was originally on top and it's going to return to being on top. It's going to return to being on top. Kime'ez Hashem Haisazos. It's the process of the Shem Havaya, the Keseder and the Lo Keseder. Kum Raya Mehemna, Moshe Rabbeinu gets up. Moshe Rabbeinu gets up, being awoken by Rabbi Shimon, giving him comfort. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai rather says to Raya Mehemna, to the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, awakening it, Kum Raya Mehemna, Moshe Rabbeinu, wake up. Tul Avna Da Biyadcha, take this stone in your hand, this Yud, the Itmar Bey Aleven Achas Shiva Einayim. The pasuk says, upon one stone there's going to be Shiva Einayim. All of the Shiva Roim, all of the tzaddikim are waiting for you, Moshe Rabbeinu. The Tavra Klipin de Egoiza, to destroy the klipos, to destroy all that conceals, to destroy all that feels so hard, to destroy all of the concealment and the congealment and the externalization of things. The Hakama Roin Parnase Dara is Kanshu al Avna. How many leaders of the generations, how many tzaddikim, Moshe Rabbeinu, how many tzaddikim have come to try and sustain the generations? They've gathered to this stone that's your stone, the Ihu Sela Dilach. It's the Sela, it's the stone that you were supposed to talk to. La'afka Maya Meteman, to draw water forth from there, the cool, calm, flowing water of the Torah of Eretz Yisrael, of the Mayan HaChachma, that place of Yishuv Hadas. The Kula Dilach, it's all yours, Mayan HaChachma, the flow of Chachma, the unity of the Levyason. B'hai Sela, the Neviah Dilab, Arais, Berazin, Steeman, Leis Soif. This stone of yours that flows forth with the lights of Pnimius HaTorah, there's no end to it. That wisdom is perpetually emerging from nothingness. And it's only your strength that has the ability of removing the klipa from above. But then when we got to the second klipa, when we got to the second layer, the iyutakifa, the tzaddikim didn't know what to do. And all the tzaddikim are banging at it to try and break through the Lev HaEvan. Kulia belishna and the inin takifin kepshitin, all with their lashonos that are screaming and banging against the rock. V'leislon rishula afka mine maya, but no one has permission to draw forth the water. Ela inin tipin denafkin al yadcha bezimna de itmar baviyachas asel b'mateu pa'amayim. The only water we're able to draw forth are the drips of water that are rooted in that time that you hit the Sela twice. On the second hit, the drops started coming out. The ilin remisen the chachma, remisen the Kabbalah. All we have is hints. All we have is glimmers. All we have is the hitznoitzitzis. All we have is a shine that flows forth through the concealment of Torah Sheba'al Peh, like embedded within Chagiga, V'shar Mas Nisan. V'hai even leisman de ofik mine chachma de ihu melagoi de leis lasoif. And there's nobody to open up the stone and reveal the endlessness of the waters that are on the inside. The mayim karim al nefesh ayefa, the mei menuchos in aleni, the mayim of the tzadikim amitim, the ulpin chadasin, the nahar hayoyt semi'ed and lahashkes sagan. Bar Ant, it's only you, Moshe Rabbeinu. Only you have the ability. The Itmar Bach Halacha LaMoshe Misinai. You have the key to Halacha LaMoshe Misinai, Hakala, the fact that everything is yours, Moshe Rabbeinu. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, it's all going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Emes v'Sarasa Emes. We all have an akuda of Moshe Rabbeinu within ourselves. We all have to uncover the light of Moshe Rabbeinu within ourselves. The Zohar Kadosh continues. And Rabbi Shimon continues, awakening the neshama of Raya Mehemna within each and every one of us, within himself, the unity of Chachma and Bina within ourselves. Oy. B'hai parshasa islach la'ahadra la'alma, la'hachyois ula'ara ula'ala ba'ara di Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu, now it's time, in this Parsha, Teitzei, it's time to awaken yourself, to return, to come back to the world, to reveal yourself again, the Das of Moshe, the Navi Hasoidos, La'achyois, to be revitalized, that Moshe Rabbeinu is not mace. It's not mace. It just looks like there's a death. It looks like there's a concealment. It looks like there's a departure. But it's a dissemination of Moshe. Haman didn't realize that the death of Moshe is the revelation of Moshe within each and every one of us. That the burial place is buried within each and every one of our hearts. And it's time to enter into Eretz Yisrael. It's time to enter into the true tikkun, to bring the light of Moshe away from Bina, back into Chachma, not to be like the Meraglim that are koifer on Chachma, but to enter into the goodness, to the calmness, to the light, and to the enjoyment. To connect yourself fundamentally and fully with this Parsha, with that which is being spoken about in the Torah, as brisi shalom, like Pinchas, who was given the bris of shalom. Begin da loy amar lecha kudshabrichu hacha raid ela ale. Moshe Rabbeinu, your death is not a yerida. You're entering into that place of waiting to enter into Eretz Yisrael. Uminei ant tehei ayel la'arad Yisrael. And from there, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to enter into Eretz Yisrael. Now, the Meforshim tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu already entered into Eretz Yisrael at the moment of his death by way of Maras HaMachpelah, on the way towards the Kotel HaMa'aravi, mibein shnei akruvim. But the full culmination is bringing Moshe Rabbeinu and the Das of Moshe Rabbeinu back into Arad Yisrael, which is the place of Shiflus, which is the place of Ayin. Umad Amarbach, and that which it said about you, v'lo yada ishas kfuraso ad hayoim hazeh, that nobody knows his kever until today, until us, as we're speaking. Vai le'inin atimin liba stimin einin de lo yada kfura dilech. Woe to those who have closed hearts and whose eyes are closed that do not know your kever. Look at this. Vai le'inin atimin liba. The lave is bina. Stima inin. The eyes are chachma. De lo yada, without das. Why? Because if you don't have chachma bin and das, then of course you don't know where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried. But if you have chachma bin and das, then avada, you do know where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried, because every nikud of das is a hitznoitzitzos of the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Shapir Ka'amart. They don't know your kfura dilech, the havis ana bayer rachme b'kutshaberichu, the lo yo'ilech b'hahu kfura, rabba ant mitkari mes. We have to daven, we have to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much to continue to give us the strength to remember that you're not buried in a place that's considered as death. Moshe Rabbeinu, you're buried in a place that's awaiting a revelation through the Torah of Atikas Tima'ah, which is the Torah of Hashem. Zois Torah lo yutiyem uchlefes. Nobody stands up like Moshe. Hadau dersev Moshe Avdi Meis. It seems that Moshe Avdi is Meis. V'inin tipshin imrin, And the foolish ones say, "V'chi Moshe have mefached b'misa lanafka behai alma la'alma da'asi." Moshe Rabbeinu was davening so much they didn't want to be buried in this place called Misa outside of Eretz Yisrael. And the idiots look at the Torah and they say Moshe Rabbeinu was worried about dying. He was worried about entering into that next stage of things. V'inin lo yadin dekfura dilach u'moisa dilach eichu dahachi ukma. They simply don't know the secret of what it means that you die and what it means that you're buried. They don't understand the secret of the burial place of Moshe, which is our responsibility to search out the Nakuda of Moshe Rabbeinu, that goodness, that that connectivity, that light of the Levyason, the light of goodness, the light of affirming reality. That's the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Shapir Ka'amart. Moshe speaks kindly and nicely. It's not just that Moshe, you said nicely. It's that Moshe speaks nicely. Moshe is humble. That's the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Not a shlomilnik that doesn't have any koach, but a koach that comes from within the bittul itself, from the ayin itself. As Rabbeinu says, that only someone who can write that they are the biggest anav in the world can be an anav like Moshe Rabbeinu. Only someone who knows the secret of being the biggest anav in the world and also knowing that you are the biggest anav in the world is the secret of the anava of Moshe, because Moshe is not absent, he's invisible. He's invisible, he's translucent. It's translucent, it's bittul b'muchletas. He's the shliach tzibur amiti. So the real thing that we have to daven for Rebbeinu Shleilim is that we have to reveal the true burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu, as Chazal have told us. The meitei chutza la'aretz einam chayim loy amrid einan asidim lahachyos. The Lamalika Chavei Kafrim B'Tchias HaMesim, we see that the burial place in outside of Eretz Yisrael, in the place of Bina, is very different than the burial place inside of Eretz Yisrael. Because Chazal already say that those who are buried in Chutz La'aretz, it's as if they don't have a tekuma, but avada they have a tekuma. It just means that Ela Hachi Raza Ravriva Kvura Dilei B'Tzalmu Delav Hagunalei. The truth of the matter is, Moshe Rabbeinu, the deepest secret is that you are buried in a place that is literally inappropriate for you. It's not an appropriate burial place for you. But you stay there to protect us. You stay there to enable us to find the connectivity within the apparent opposites. You give us the ability to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Eretz Yisrael, and you give us the ability to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'eretz tzia v'ayef b'li mayim, that place that you're actually buried. B'leis mayim el Torah, buried in that place where there's no Torah and concealment. Uba loy tayar lo v'lo hadar, and it's inappropriate and it's not worth Moshe Rabbeinu's value there. V'lo hadar uman dechazile b'hahu tzalma v'nir'ehu v'loy mara v'nichmadehu. And somebody who sees you in that burial place, Moshe Rabbeinu, who sees itself stuck to the afar, it's not a good thing. Beginda nevuas Yeshaya, and it's upon this that the nevuah of Yeshaya comes along and says, Hine yaskil avdi karam izaleha. Hine yaskil avdi, the Arizal says, is the awakening of the worlds of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, the congealment and the concealment and the thickness of this worldliness and all of its grossness and all of its physicality, down to the inner processes that we all struggle with. It's from that place itself that the fullest revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light is going to be revealed. Because when the Raglin of Ak, when the full light of the Kav or Ein Sof Kav Yachal is Yored Lamata, to be Meir, by the Akvayim, the Adam Kadmon, by the Yudni Tzotzos, Nishmas Yisrael, Sheiris Yisrael, those neshamos that find themselves so lost and so wandering, and so caught in between all things. At that point, the Raglin are going to be Mati B'Raglin, and the lowest level is going to be revealed to be the highest level, and then all things are going to be transformed into Eretz Yisrael. That's you, Moshe Rabbeinu. That's you. Ubegin hahu kvura have bayirachme de lo yomas teman b'chutz laretz lefum da have be'eretz tziyara v'ayif v'tsamea b'limayim. And Moshe Rabbeinu was davening and davening. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be in Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be in that place of Chachma. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to be buried in that place of Bina. Be'eretz tzaya v'ra'av v'ya'if v'tsamei. All of these things of exhaustion and tiredness and thirst. Diyu oraisa without Torah. Begin da itmar alea al el har ha'ivrim hazeh. Hashem says, Moshe, don't worry, don't worry. It's from within this place that you're going to reveal your true light, because you need to be wedged in between both sides. Go up to the Har HaIvriyim, that place at Irbuvia, that place of the Avar Yam that's before the sea but can see the sea. Because Meshiflusa Dilei Ichsile Ma'ale say that it's from your shiflus, from your ayin, from your bitul muchletes that the greatness is going to emerge, that it's going to be ayin and ani bevas achas, that it's going to be above and below at once. And afagav the ant cover be'eser delav hogun lecha orim v'loy levushim dilech. And even though Moshe Rabbeinu, for now, you're going to be buried in a place that's not appropriate for you, because it's still going to be wedged on that other side, Bein Haratzin, Bein Hashmad, between hope and heresy. V'loi levushin dilech, without your garments, without your crown, the inan or ubasar. Novenad, wandering around, me'eser v'yelech metatel v'galei. It's going to be through the same process of that ingathering of the soul from a place of outside of Eretz Yisrael. Don't worry, because ultimately we're going to be mitchaber with you, and you're going to be mitchaber to the bris of shalom, to the bris of shalom. You're going to have the connection between above and below. The bakala dilech. That's where your kala is. That's where halacha misina is. That's where all of the unintelligible, impossible to imagine, impossible to explain notions of this worldliness are all contained within the original light of the Torah. Teman tetyachedima. You're going to have yichud. Kechasanim kalasa. It's going to be revealed to be a fundamental unity. Daha ant alta gedola liyisrael b'kfurasecha. Because for now, it's very important that you're buried there. Biki Eloi haves kavur lebar me'ara kadisha. Moshe Rabbeinu, if your light was not buried in the ground outside of Eretz Yisrael, lebar me'kala dilech, separated from your kala, lo havi Yisrael nafkin begalusa. We wouldn't have survived in Gullus. We wouldn't have been able to survive in Gullus without you. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, your light is necessary for the Gullus experience, because every Yid is split between Gullus and Geula, between Chutz La'aretz and Eretz Yisrael, between above and below, between Ratzon and Shmad, between presence and absence. And Moshe Rabbeinu, it's only you that is going to give them the ability to move on to the next level. Ilo haves kaver lebar me'ara kadisha lebar me'kala dilech. If this momentary separation between you and the Shechina, between you and Kalas Moshe, between you and Sipora, between you and that place of confusion that is going to be revealed to be everything at once. Lo have Yisrael nafkin begalusa. We wouldn't have made it out of exile. Ubeginach itmar. And with you, Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, V'hu mechaylel paishenu. That he, Moshe Rabbeinu, as a result of our struggles, you're the one who makes yourself whole. You're the one who allows yourself to live in that in-between, the Chol Hayam, between the dry land and the sea, because you occupy both places. Is avidas chol begin chayva v'pesha Yisrael. You allow yourself to become profaned as a result of the struggle of Klal Yisrael, because you reveal yourself in that place as well until chol becomes Shabbos. B'kvura dilech the itmar bach v'yikvar oise begai. You're revealed within Gai, in that valley, which is the secret of Yud Gimel, of Echad and Ahava, of the Yud Gimel Midah Sha'atorin Adreshes Behen, that Halacha L'Moshe Misinai that connects Torah Shebechsav and Torah Shebal Peh, of Chachma and Bina. Umaksiv B'Kfura Dilech, it's written by upon your burial place, Kol Gei Yenase Kol Shafel V'Namuch Yenase Beginich, that all that is Shafel, all of the shiflus, that's where the tekuma is going to come from. The etzem haluz, the anava, the bittul, the ayin, the translucency, the making space, the ease, the opening of the hands, the relinquishment of gripping, all of these qualities of Moshe, v'anachnu ma, saying ma over and over, ma Hashem shoel mincha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks us, ma, bittul. That light of Moshe, that's going to be the light that comes and reveals everything. That's going to reveal what Klal Yisrael need. All of the lowliness is going to be elevated. The inen shveilin mikol uma v'loshon. And there's nothing lower than Nishmas Yisrael in exile, and it's going to be raised up to the highest place. V'chol har v'giva yishpalu. The Inan Rishai, and all those mountains that jut out and extend upwards, all of those things that appear so strong and big are going to be nullified, and they're going to be crushed, and they're going to be lowered. The Gase Haruach, and those who are arrogant and those who don't know the secret of Anava are not going to make it. V'hai ihu b'chaberusenu de'eskanesh b'layla nahir hahu b'sihara b'chol kol chvaya umazle. And this is a light that comes and it shines itself, and it's hidden, it's the Or Haganus, and it's hidden in the night sky. Hachi ant nahir b'chol mare halachos. You're going to reveal your light, Moshe Rabbeinu, on each and every mind that's trying to find you in this world. The kabbalos v'lach v'ishkayin b'gnizu k'mevu da'ash k'le'ilonet chosh rashayin. And your light, Moshe Rabbeinu, the dots of Moshe, is going to irrigate each and every neshama through the nekud of Moshe Rabbeinu within ourselves, and it's going to be like the irrigation of a tree that is perpetually moving internally in a silent and hidden way, beneath and subterranean to the roots itself. The gnizu until the water spreads forth immediately, and it's going to break down all of the barriers. Your light, Moshe Rabbeinu, is going to be extending outwards. You're like the sun that continues to shine even in the days of the winter. That Moshe Rabbeinu knows the secret of entering into the cloud to find Hashem there. And in the time of redemption, it's going to be like the sunlight of the summer where the sun is above the clouds. And there's going to be a warmth, and there's also going to be a relief that comes about in the unification of all of these levels. Again, this is one nakuda. This is just one nakuda. The base medrash of the Gra, the base medrash of the Ramchal, the base medrash of the tzaddikim, Baal Shem Tov. It's all about the das of Moshe, connecting to our inner das, our ability to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu right here, right now, to connect and to connect to the sha'ashuin of Torah and meaning and emunah and goodness and perpetual standing up again over and over and over, and beholding the light of Moshe Rabbeinu in our lives through the Torah, through the living tzaddikim, through the tzaddikim that are buried in their books, tzaddikim asher ba'aretz hema va'adire kol cheftzei bam, and connecting to all of the tzaddikim. That's the avodah of Rosh Hashanah, of connecting to that light. And be'ezras Hashem, we should be zeicher to the shofar. Moshe shapir ka'amart. Moshe, you're the light of the shofar, that you're speaking is the shofar, and it will open up the stone, that stone that is still holding back the flow. And when that stone opens and the flow opens and the hearts melt to a leiv basar, then we're going to be able to behold ayin ba'ayin, and we'll be able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu with our das, and we'll be able to realize that kedushasi l'malam u'kedushasechem, and that there's a perpetual, ever-flowing process of above and below and above and below, but it's going to be sha'ashuan and tainug and toiv hanira v'hanigla be'ezras Hashem.